.con 2012 is a convention at your desk. Hi, I'm Brian. I run the stream.tv, and I'm very happy to have a bunch of talented people here doing their thing. And so we're running this out of the stream.tv studio. I have Tara and Yuri here. I'm going to let them explain the rest, and I hope everyone's having a good .con fest. I believe this is the first one, guys?
This is the absolute first one.
Tara and Yuri, everyone. There you go.
Here we are.
Nice.
Hello there.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome, internets. We are here today as part of .con Fest 2012, the first .con Fest. So I guess we don't even really need to say it's 2012 because
it is.
You already know that.
Yeah, you know what year we're in.
We're gonna be making some voices, and Len Peraltia is gonna be drawing some stuff. Hopefully he's here somewhere. I don't know.
He's on the interwebs with us.
I am.
There he is. There he is. I can hear him.
I am here.
Hey, Len.
Hey, how you doing, Yuri? How you doing, Tara?
Good.
Thanks.
We're
There he
very
is.
excited. Hello,
welcome.
there you are.
Welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we'll split the time here. Sometimes you'll be watching Len draw, and sometimes you'll be looking at us. Hopefully, you'll be watching Len draw more than you'll be looking at us.
But also remember, you can join us in the chat room, and when you respond and you make notes to Chris, who is
the lovely Chris,
Yes.
Chris Wright.
Chris Wright, who is in the chat room.
There he is.
There he is.
There he is.
You
me.
can ask. You can make requests. You can tell him voices you'd like to hear. You can say characters you'd like to see drawn. And Len and Yuri and I will do our best to give you what you're asking for.
Right. Or
Yeah,
just give you what we want to.
So
Who
do
cares
join.
what they
Do
want?
join in the chat
Exactly.
room. Chris,
We're
do you
not
want
here for you.
Chris, do you want to tell us how they can reach you in the chat room so that they can be communicative with us while we're doing this whole fun?
Yes, I am in the chat room as CK Wright. And also, if you want to tweet either at CK Wright or at .confest, either one of those will get to me, and any of your suggestions will go to them. And also, sometime during this program, I have a fair amount of Think Geek gift certificates to give away. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
That's Chris Wright, who the founder of .con Fest. He just sort of thought it up a couple weeks ago. Got a bunch of his
Made
friends
it
together,
happen.
made it happen. So here we are.
Cool. So let's get to drawing.
Cool. Okay, let me start sending you my screen here.
Okay.
Hang on one second. This is the magic of technology.
We live in the future.
This is the future. Okay, you should start seeing my screen now.
I see a
Genius.
screen.
Okay, awesome. Let me get to a full screen here. Okay, so I thought what we would do first is we kind of open here. Either Tara and Yuri, if you want to, if you want to come up with a character, or like we'll start coming up with a character, and I can draw it.
Sure. We'll start that way.
And then we can flip it, and then I'll draw something, and then you guys can kind of come up with the
Sure.
look for it.
That
or
works.
The voice of it. So
That works for us.
You wanna, or should I? I'll tell you what. I tend to play a lot of heroes, so I'm going to this time try some villainous stuff.
Oh,
You're gonna be the villain?
Perfect.
Because villains are more fun.
Okay. Well, if you're
So-
the villain,
Right.
I guess I will be sort of a young, captured, sort of.
like a heroine,
A heroine.
or a damsel in distress.
Yeah, but
Nice.
maybe a quirkier, crazier version of a damsel in distress.
You're never a
Okay.
damsel in distress.
So what kind of a villain are you thinking, Yuri? What
Let's-
kind of villain do you want to be?
Let's see. Somebody dastardly, like a Snidely Whiplashy kind of villain. He'll definitely.
Let's hear that voice.
He'll probably sound British because British people are evil.
Clearly.
Len, I see you drawing in your studio. I do. But I don't like drawing. I'm going to rid the world of all drawings and people who do such drawings. And I will do this with a magical stick that I have that destroys drawings and people who draw them.
Any kind of time period you're thinking for this character? And is he from the future? Is he?
I have a top hat, but I see I haven't left you much room to draw a top hat.
That's all right. I'll make it. Oh, how about you know what? I have the technology to erase. What about a bowler?
Oh, bowler's very nice. Yes, yes, and maybe a mustache. Mm-hmm. A mustache. Something I can twirl. And then, of course, my magical destroying stick. which maybe actually is not a stick but scissors, so I can cut. So I can cut.
You're just making this totally difficult. For
I'm
me.
totally making it up as I go.
That's because he's the villain.
I told you I didn't like people who drew things, Len.
Let's start this again here. Let's see. I'm gonna give you
I
some.
will torture you. Oh yes.
Oh, good eyebrows.
Yes, definitely that.
So as we're talking a little bit about the character, why don't we talk a little bit about just your background as voice artists?
Sure.
Sure.
How'd you guys get into this and what because I was kind of worried about doing this because you guys the resume between just the two of you is incredibly scary.
Oh.
So,
we've seen your work too, Len. You're no slouch.
I don't think that. Oh, that's fun because you can see us both on screen while you're drawing and we're talking.
So you want to?
Yeah. So our history a little bit. I come from an acting background. I started acting when I was 9. I did a lot of stage theater work there, and then I went to college and I got a degree in theater. So I was just coming from a very heavy training background. And then we met in New York doing a film together. And when we moved out to Los Angeles, I was very focused on film and television, which I still do a lot of work on camera. But when we were first out here, we were both trying to figure out how to make ends meet. And we sort of looked at each other and said, hey, what's that voiceover thing? Any other opportunities we can have where we're acting and doing what it is that not only are we trained for, but we enjoy and we love and we're passionate about how else can we make money doing this? And so we actually just took a class. Now it's been like 8 years. 8 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
you took one class.
Yeah.
Well,
but then
that's how it got started.
That's how it started.
Yeah,
I'm giving people hope here.
Yeah.
They
One
want
class, and then we just
Right,
actually
and-
though
right,
to
right
be
to the
fair, we took that class, and the person that was running that class happened to get a project that they were directing shortly thereafter, and Yuri booked a major role on that. So I mean,
it was one of my first
Yeah.
jobs, and it was dubbing an anime called SD Gundam Force.
the little baby Gundams.
Baby Gundams.
They were very cute.
Right. Which
Baby Gundam.
yeah, which depending on who you talk to, people love them or they hate them. I happen to love them, and I will take all the flack in the world.
But the
for that.
people that don't like them call them the super deformed Gundams.
Yeah, that's what SD stands for, right? Something like that.
So how did you start getting into because your video obviously you're well known for your anime, but also your video game work is pretty fantastic. So how did you get into that?
That was something that if you're working in the voice acting industry, you try to hit it on all fronts because trust me, if you're just dubbing anime, you won't make enough to pay your rent. So you're like, well, what else is there out there? Well, there's commercials and there's narration. And there's, animation,
Original animation.
prelay, original animation. And there's video games. As a matter of fact, in recent years, there's a lot of video games.
Oh, do you want me to start voicing the character so that?
Yes,
Yeah.
go right ahead.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
go based on. That's fine.
okay.
Go based on.
Well, I'm going to try to sort of match now a little bit of the character that you've done. She's a little more worried and a little trepidatious about the fact that this terrible, terrible villain has her in his grip. And she really is such a good artist that she's very worried that he's going to erase all the work that she's done.
That's right. I have you in my clutches.
But no, please don't. Don't erase my work, my life's work.
You're not worried that I might destroy you as well. You're worried more about your work.
I live through my work. My work lives on beyond me.
Well, then I guess I'll just have to destroy your work.
So we have a good start here. It's funny listening to you guys. I'm hearing all the video game work you've done. Like, oh my gosh, these are these are the voices from the games I listened to.
That happens. People will Facebook me or tweet me, and they'll say, "Did I just kill you in Dragon Age?" Or did I just blow you up in Black Ops?
Yeah, and I always love
probably
it
me.
because I'm not a very good gamer. I actually get a little dizzy. I think that I have a problem watching the video
My
game.
TV's too big.
The TV's too big. That's really what it is. But so I love it when people tweet me or write me notes that tell me that they've played a game with my character in it. I'm one of the player characters in Saints Row the Third. I'm the crazy Russian one, and so I keep getting all these tweets from people going, "Oh my god, I had so much fun playing the game," and it makes me so happy to know that people are out there actually playing those characters, because you bring them to life, and it's nice to know that they have this sort of relationship with people outside of what you're doing. So that's cool.
Well, I think it's hilarious because I saw that you were that Yuri was in Soul Calibur 5. You're Patroklos, right?
Yeah. and I love it because go ahead.
No. I after I found that out, I'm like, oh my gosh, I spent a lot of time with that character. It's almost like you've. You really get to know. I don't know. It's just like this weird bond that I had with you before I even got to talk to you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I assume it's sort of the equivalent to when you meet an actor that you're an on-camera actor and you're familiar with their work on TV or film, and you sort of feel like you know them, but you realize, of course, that you don't. They don't know you.
It's a weird kind of relationship that you have one-sided.
Yeah, which is not. I'm not saying that you're creepy at all, Len. Not at all.
Well, no, I did go back and play all those parts. Oh yeah, that's great, Yuri. They're great.
And that was me calling you in the middle of the night, breathing heavily on the phone. I think we also had met briefly backstage at Woodstock a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yes, I was thinking about that. I think Will may have introduced it.
I think Will's like that.
Will's the center of the spoke.
When he's not cruising around the world doing what we're doing here on the internet.
It's either Will or Jonathan Colton. They're all like the center of these.
So true.
I know.
So true.
And I'm sure one day Will introduce me to Jonathan Colton.
You've never met Jonathan Colton?
No, believe it or not, I know.
Yeah. Well, we have to rectify that.
That'll happen.
I love what you're doing, by the way, with the black.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
He
I do.
definitely deserves that.
This is funny because I'm a pen and ink guy. I'll be honest with you. I don't do too much digital drawing, which is why this looks a little bit rough here. Because I usually do I'm an old school type of guy. I like to do.
I'm okay with that.
Drawing at my drawing table with a regular pen and ink pencils and stuff like that, and just because I feel I have more control over it.
Sure.
So this is, but it was funny because I went to PAX East last year.
Uh-huh.
I watched Mike Krahulik do live drawing, and I watched him do digital drawing, and I'm thinking, I can do that, but it's so hard.
It's a different skill set, I'm sure, because even if you have good, like the pad or whatever it is that you use in front of your computer, it's still very different than the tactile ability to control the pen or pencil, with your own physiognomy, basically.
Yeah.
Well, it is. Plus the other thing too is that it's so different, and there's so much more to be thinking about, and I work pretty fast in general, so it's such a different thing. I was before I was testing this stuff out. I realized that my drawing pad, my Wacom pad, had like a very used. It was spent. It was I wasn't getting the line I wanted. So hopefully, as I was trying to do some warming up before we went live here. So hopefully it's not so rough and people don't.
I think it looks great.
You'd
have been getting stick figures where I'm drawing this, so.
Right, and the pad allows us to do this today. So
exactly.
Do we want to maybe check in the chat room and see if we've got some questions so far? Right.
We do actually.
Ooh, exciting.
Mm-hmm. The Len actually just answered our first question that was about how he draws and what setup he's using. But I wanted to ask you guys if you ever get voiceover block, like an actor or writer might get.
Oh, that's a really interesting question. Do we ever get voiceover block, like writing block?
Yeah, but I think that in the same way a writer has to push through that, and there's only one way through, and that's just pushing through. We have to do that too, because when we show up on a job and they've got some artwork, or even not some artwork, but just some character guidelines, we have to find it pretty quickly. Luckily, we're not on our own, like a writer would be, or an artist would be sitting, alone, banging their head on the keyboard or on their Wacom tablet. we have a director and we have sometimes a producer, and they all have things that they know that they want. And if the director is good, they'll communicate exactly what it is they're looking for, and you'll try something and it might not work, and then you'll try something else and they'll give you some more direction until we finally zeroed in on it. But yeah, sometimes I don't know exactly what's going to come out of my mouth when.
Yeah, but
when we
that's
start.
also what's nice. I mean, if you have anything to go off of, if there's a script, if there's a director, if there's an image, like a picture that you're looking at, your brain can already start asking questions about what it is you're looking at or what the information you're receiving off the page is. And by asking those questions, then you can start to just answer it, because your brain naturally, when you ask a question, it comes up with an answer. So that can be really helpful in combating the idea of a block. I mean, the thing that's tricky is it's all just imagination, and it's all just being creative and using what's in your head at that given moment to come up with something. And sometimes you're very literal. You'll look at a stocky character and you'll give them a stocky sort of voice. And then other times you can look at that and go, oh my gosh, it would be so funny if they were really high pitched, or whatever you're going to choose to do with your voice. And by being able to ask those questions about how does that character fit into the world, or what's the scenario, or is this comedic, or is this dramatic, or is this realistic, or asking those kind of questions can really help to eliminate any kind of acting block that you may have, because by asking the questions, you start answering it. And when you start answering the question, your brain starts firing and you get excited and passionate about what you're doing. And I think that sort of alleviates and eliminates that.
And in case the question that came in for Len as to what he uses, in case they were looking for a more technical thing, Len, do you want to mention sort of what it is you're actually, the products or the programs you're actually using?
And then they
sure.
can sponsor us.
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sponsors of
Well, of
.com.
course, I'm working on a Mac. I've just got a 27-inch iMac it's my main machine. I actually had to downgrade from a Mac Pro because it just was too rich for my build this time around.
Wow.
But the iMac's pretty good. I mean, it does what it needs to do. And just using Photoshop and just old cobbled, into it too. Really, really old technology. But it gets the job done. When I'm doing, like, say, for example, like Geek Week and stuff, that's all done regular pen and paper. I scan stuff in, and then I drop the color in, and then I do the effect in Photoshop. So I do a combination of Illustrator and Photoshop. For the digital drawings, I will basically everything's done obviously live in.
Len,
Hey, Len.
Len,
Len.
hold
Yeah.
up for a second.
This is Brian. You're getting a little choppy internet-wise, so I'm gonna let Tara and Yuri talk for a second, and I'm gonna try to call you back on Skype.
Sounds
so
great.
we can start from scratch.
Oh, okay.
Sound
Sounds
good?
good.
So
Sounds
I'm gonna
good.
hang up on
Sounds
you
good.
and then call you right back. I'll let you know when he's back on,
Okay.
guys.
Okay.
Brian Gramo, how rude,
thanks.
hanging up on Len Peralta like that.
It was starting to get a little sketchy, though, as far as hearing. So I hope you guys
Sketchy, because he's
Oh.
drawing. She's
So
hilarious.
funny. But I hope you guys at home, in the comfort of your own computer, could sort of understand what he was talking
Yeah,
about.
we could mostly make it out. Something about drawing.
But while we're waiting, Chris, is there any other communication in the chat room that we could answer or take care of in this?
Or tweets.
or
Yes.
tweets?
If not,
I have a
just
question you guys can answer while we're waiting.
Yes, certainly.
They wanted to know if you randomly just break into different voices in your everyday lives.
Right. That question comes up a lot, and
yeah,
I think
I would like to just keep up the fantasy that yes, we do all the time. As a matter of fact, when we're not talking to you right now, we're usually talking in some weird voice. That's not always true.
Not
okay,
always
that's
true.
not always true.
right.
But
we do sometimes randomly break into song. Like, for example, when we were sitting here waiting before the program started, there's a the stream.tv music interlude that goes on during the logo image,
Right.
and it's sort of a fun little techno beat, and so we
Yeah.
just started to randomly go.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty motivational, personally.
It's very
Absolutely.
motivational.
It's called Hurry Up, but not a frantic
Not-
kind of hurry up.
Right,
It's
just like
all right,
excited.
let's go.
Hey, we're hurrying
I see
up.
the screen moving again. So Len,
Yay.
if you want to try to start talking again.
Yeah, can you hear me okay now?
Yay!
yeah, that's
now I
great.
can hear you.
You're back. You just started to get kind of robotic.
Yeah, I don't know if he wants to finish what
Do you
he
want
was
to?
explaining.
Yeah,
there,
your explanation. You can finish. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh no, it's I'm using old timey an old timey version of Photoshop, and I use Illustrator and stuff like that to do all the art. Like when I do the Geek Week stuff, that's all pen and ink. but I do the effects in Illustrator. I drop the color in Illustrator, and then I do all the effects in Photoshop. So it's I'm getting better at doing these things. This is tough. This is a hard thing to do, like
And while chewing gum at the same time.
oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Don't worry about it at all.
Len, I particularly like your Geek of the Week card for Aaron Douglas.
Oh, thank you.
There are many good ones, but that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, Yuri hopes that someday he will get to be a Geek a Week.
That's right.
Oh.
One of
It's
these
like,
days,
you
one of
want to
these
get an
days,
action figure, you want to get a Geek a
I'll
Week.
earn it.
Yeah, you
Right.
have to earn it.
Well, you're one step closer because now we're actually talking.
That's true.
I know. We're working together.
Let me drop some more color in this.
I
and
love
then,
the colors, though, that you're adding. The green is so fun and evil.
Oh, thank you. Let's
Evil
give you.
green.
give you
That's I believe what it's called.
Yeah,
Evil green.
that was the name of the palette, right? Evil Green?
It is evil
Yeah,
green.
I thought so.
I learned this little trick from Mike from Penny Arcade is just dropping those colors in like that, and then I won't spend too much more time because I'm sure we want to we have limited time and want to try to do some more here.
Sure.
So I'll just kind of drop some colors in here, just real quickly drop the color in, and then what I would normally do in a situation like this is basically just do some basic shading.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a darken layer, and then just go and add a little bit of shadow just to bring a little bit of just a little bit of depth to the actual finished drawing.
Yeah.
And because we had done this so quickly, it's certainly not the quintessential example.
Right, but still.
No, but it looks
Yeah.
great. I mean, they're really fun, clearly defined characters.
Yeah.
I tried, he looks, I made Yuri look a little bit kind of too Charlie Chaplin there, a little bit.
I don't know about
He's
that.
kind of fun.
Nothing wrong with Charlie Chaplin.
I'm sorry, how do you say that? I'm saying that wrong. But we'll see how that goes.
I like.
What should we call these characters?
That's a good question.
Actually, that was my idea for what to give away. The best names
Oh,
for
best
these two
names for the
characters.
characters.
Internets, you get to name the characters.
Name the
Yes.
characters and win
Think Geek?
with Think
Think
Geek
Geek gift
certificates.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yes, a name for Tara's and a name for Yuri's. One each will win. You can either tweet them to me or at .confest, or if you want to do it, I'll take them till the end of the day at Gmail at .confest@gmail.com.
And then he will post who the winners are.
I'll post the winners
And the
with
names.
the drawings online tonight.
That's a great
Outstanding.
idea.
I love it.
That's
I love
really cool. There we go.
And after this, I have a suggestion for characters from Mr. Josh A. Kagan.
Ooh,
We don't take
character
suggestions from Josh Kagan.
Well, let's say
take no
this
guff
one
from him either.
is, let's say this one is sort of done,
Yes,
Let's call it done.
Yes.
and then
Villain and damsel. To
Beautiful.
be yet named.
Beautiful.
yes, to be yet named, and then we will start a brand new one here.
Chris, do I have this right? Do I have this email address right? Is it
Yes.
.confest@gmail.com?
You do.
Okay.
Look at that.
That
It's
looks
like
great.
magic.
And hashtag would be #.confest.
Yep. Or to me, to CK Wright, or email. Any which way you decide to get it in is great with me. And I'll pick the winner and I'll post them with the final product tonight or tomorrow. And you'll each get, if it's the same person, you might get two. If it's different people, you each get a gift certificate.
Think Geek gift
awesome.
certificates.
Outstanding.
Yay!
Look at this.
So-
Brian Gramo makes magic here at
He's
the
so
Stream
talented.
TV.
Thank you, the stream.
It does make magic.
Yeah.
Welcome.
So why don't we do this? Why don't I draw a character for each one of you, and then you have to develop the
Outstanding.
voice.
Fun. Okay.
Outstanding.
So let's see. Any suggestions from the internet, Chris?
Well, the Kagan suggestion,
Okay.
which I quite like, is Glurb and Flane Glotterson, the Midwestern aliens.
Glurb and
my
Flane
gosh.
Glotterson.
Glurb and Flame Glatterson.
Okay. Okay. So Midwestern aliens.
Yeah,
I'm down with that.
me too.
Okay. Do we want to do this individually or together? like a drawing of both of them in one, or one at a time?
Oh,
Well, they are Midwestern, like that.
like
what is
the
that? American Gothic
American Gothic.
painting.
That would be kind of funny.
Okay,
That,
okay,
yeah, that might be.
So
to give you
Glurb?
some inspiration.
Glurb,
Yeah, Glurb and
glurb
Flame.
and flame.
Glurb
Glurb
and Flame.
and flame.
Don't do the voice yet, because we gotta.
No,
Right. We're not
I
gonna
just
do
was
this.
playing with the
No,
name.
she was jumping the gun. She was
I got
trying to do
excited.
the voice.
I got excited.
That's okay. She's
I
excitable.
just get excitable.
As they start to come together, do we want to take another question? Oh, I like already
Oh,
where
this
you're
is
going with this.
amazing. Look at that.
Wow. Okay. It's
Oh,
this is
this is
uh,
juicy.
yeah. This is juicy. This is it's sort of a Cthulhu meets Zoidberg meets
So the,
American
so the
Gothic
question is that
meets-
glurb or is that flame?
Oh, see, we don't know yet.
That's a good
figure
question.
that out.
Josh didn't.
No.
He didn't specify whether Glurb
No.
was you or Flame was you.
Exactly. So that could be very exciting. We don't know where glurb and flame may be from.
I could throw you a curveball and say you're gonna have to do the one on the right, and I will have to do the one on the left.
And by right, you mean the screen.
By the right of the screen.
Yes.
Meaning the more masculine looking
the
one.
masculine one?
of the two.
Yes.
But as it's coming together, shall we take another question?
Is there another question
Yes.
before this comes out so that then we.
There is.
Yes.
This one actually, all of you can answer. It's where do you get your inspiration? They were asking for the voiceover stuff for you, and obviously for Len's drawing.
That's a great question. Where do we get our inspiration?
My imagination is my greatest inspiration and my greatest tool. And I know we're sort of taught, it's sort of beaten out of us when we're children. You can't have imaginary friends and stop thinking you can fly and all that stuff that they tell you to do. No, don't grow up and be an actor. That's ridiculous. But it is what keeps me going from day to day.
Yeah, it is kind of sad to me that there's a statistic out there that says something like 87% of information that children get from their parents is the word no. Because they're trying to be taught, they're trying to be taught and socialized and explained how to be a human being in the world that we live in. But the way that most of that information is given is the word no, which kind of sucks. So I would say my inspiration is play, like a sense of play. Because it's the same thing with the idea of imagination. But when you go into something, sort of embracing the fun of it, I think that you are more open to your own ideas that may come up and you're not going to be as negative and embarrassed or put them down. And B, you're more willing to see where they may take you because your first idea may not be the best idea, but if you yes and that and you go on that journey, you're going to end up with something that ends up being great. And I think that's really what it's all about. And it sort of piggybacks on the idea of your imagination. It's just the idea of staying playful and always being inquisitive and investigative and discovering. And it's that sense of play that I think is where inspiration comes from. How about you, Len?
I get inspiration from a lot of different resources, but I think one of the biggest resources that I like is just being around creative people. Just being around
helps.
people who just feed ideas and let you open your mind to different things that you never had thought before.
Sure.
It's that's always been really a big inspiration for me, and also just I just love looking at. If I see anything that I like, if I see any kind of art that I like, or just anything that kind of speaks to me, I always try to save that and try to remember it or bookmark it or something because something about it. There's something that I liked about it, and just grabbing inspiration from different types of art, and it could be anything. I mean, it could be video game art. I'm a big, huge Mad Magazine fan, right?
Oh, yeah.
So like the work of Jack Davis is a huge inspiration to me, as is Don Martin, two totally different sort of artists,
Sure.
but both incredible in their own right. And and borrowing some ideas, borrowing those thoughts from them, and borrowing their that inspiration, and kind of turning it on its head and making it sort of different is always really cool. And I always look for that when I try to get inspired if I can.
That's great. That's great.
Absolutely. I think there's very little in our world. Well, there are people who steal things from other people. I think there's very little stealing. I think there's just a lot of, people inspiring other people with their own.
Yeah, it's like paying homage in a way.
Yeah.
You see something that you like and you want to create your own version of that, not in the idea of taking somebody else's and removing it from them, but adding on to it because you have it's inspired you.
And it's never going to be the same as that person's thing anyway. So I think it's very hard to actually steal stuff. I think you can only pay homage.
Well, these are starting to come together. Do we want to
They're
start
starting to come
to
together.
voice them?
Yeah, why don't we? Why don't you take? I'll tell you what. Why don't we do this? You take the one on the right. I'll take the one on the left, and then after a while we'll flip it.
Right, yes. Well, I could definitely do something with that.
My name is Flame.
Well,
My name
Flame,
is Flame, and this is my husband, Glorm.
Flame, I know you just like to go on, but it's really not time for that right
Glorm,
now.
you got something caught in your tentacles.
Do I?
I told you not to do that after eating.
Could you please clear it out for me?
Sure, let me just reach in and grab. That's fresh.
Oh, sorry,
Fresh.
it's the goat. I was hungry earlier.
I understand. Goat sucking is it's a messy business.
Well, I needed a snack. You weren't home.
Well, why don't I go and bake a goat pie for you?
I would love a goat pie, fresh goat pie.
Excellent. I'll go off and bake that then.
So
It's a
that
new
Would you like?
sitcom.
Would you like to switch now?
we'll flip it and see what comes out the other side. then?
Certainly. Do you want to?
Sure. Hello, Flame.
Hello, Gerb.
Thanks for making me that goat pie.
Well, I know it's your favorite.
This is the best one.
Yes, well, I was all out of cow.
Well, us chupacabras really like the goats.
Oh, that's true.
Why do we always get such a bad rap?
I don't know.
We're just sucking on some goats, really.
Yeah, they are so tasty.
I know.
Oh.
I guess we can always try something else. We can always try going vegetarian.
Oh. And then what would we eat?
I don't know. Do you know any vegetables that taste like goats?
I can't think of any.
Me neither. Maybe we should just stick with goats.
I think that's the best plan.
Wow. That's that's one thing that as voice actors, one thing you can never do is be self-conscious about how you look when you're acting.
No.
Because more often than not, you will look absolutely ridiculous.
Yes, which I'm sure you probably noticed if you were watching at home.
Hopefully, if I was doing my job, I looked ridiculous.
I was debating whether or not I should not show you guys or not. But whenever I watch something like a special on The Simpsons or something, and then they don't show the person while they're doing it, I'm like, oh man, I kind of want to actually see him do it.
No, you look like an idiot.
I
You
gave
have
a little.
to get over that.
I gave a little peek. I gave
That's
a little
fine.
peek while I was happening.
That's totally
I think
fine.
that's good. It's when we're in the booth, it goes back to imagination. It's usually, except when we're in a group record, but when we're doing video games, it's never like this. Rarely ever, I will say. It's just you in the booth, and you in the script, director across the glass from you, and your imagination. And then you just got to really go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And to really get that real feeling across, you have to, to a certain extent, really be doing the things that your character's supposed to be doing. Now, you're limited because you have to also stand in front of that mic, otherwise they won't pick up the sound correctly, and you can't swing around too much because you'll hit the mic or you'll hit something else, and then they won't be able to use that take.
But a
because
lot
they
of
can hear
times when
that,
you're doing
but-
efforts, I mean, I do.
Yeah, I do partial
I do
movements.
partial movements because you want your gut and your diaphragm and your lungs to engage in the same way that they would were you actually fighting. So when you make an effort sound, you don't just go, ugh. You put your whole body into it.
And don't they say when you visualize or you imagine something, the neurons fire in your
Yep.
brain as if you were actually doing that thing, and that's why, Tiger Woods visualizes, playing the course before he goes out there, and
Yeah.
that's why they do that a lot more in sports now. So it actually, it creates a certain reality for you.
Yeah. And gives you a workout. I get all hot and sweaty when I'm in the booth.
No, that's true. That's true. sometimes.
What is your
sometimes it's brutal.
what would you, both Tara and Yuri? This is my question. What is
Sure.
your dream voice job, or your dream job? I guess it doesn't have to be voice necessarily. It could be acting. But
my dream job would be on camera because I love putting on costumes and disguises and going into alternate realities. So very fantastical and aesthetic
so like
movies.
when they bring Firefly back.
Yeah. Or like a Tim
Burton.
Burton movie or a Jean-Pierre Jeunet movie or like a very highly aesthetic stylized film. Like that's sort of my dream because I love actually getting the costume on and the hair and makeup and being in that world that's been created, you know, like the Alice in Wonderland kind of thing. Like that's my dream and that's what I love. But as far as doing voices, I mean, I get to play all these characters in all these worlds. And what's really freeing, and I'm sure Yuri will say the same thing, is for voiceover, I can play characters that I could never play on camera because I look a very specific way. And I like the way that I look. I mean, that's great. And hopefully the characters that I'll get to play will be...
I like the way that you look,
Thanks.
too.
But like, you know, young heroines and like eager people on journeys on their quests, and that's great. But when I'm doing voiceover, like I'm not really going to get cast as the evil,
Mean, crazy lady.
but I can do that voice, so I can play that character in voiceover, even though on camera I would never really get cast as that, and that's really
So
cool.
I shouldn't say you play the mean, evil, crazy lady in real life
Right.
when you're at home.
It's
And
my crazy voice.
and for me, I'd love to. Wow, it comes back to what we were doing in the very beginning of this session today. I'd love to play villains, and I think it's probably because I'm a nice guy in real life, and to go out there and do that. Now, I always fancy myself as, I want to play Batman, whether on voice or on, but. You look at me and you listen to me, and I have to dig really deep for that, and it's not really in my wheelhouse. So, despite the fact that I sometimes believe that I'm Batman, I'm much more Superman, which happened, which is why I was probably cast as Superman in Legion of Superheroes, because I am a hero in my heart, and I am a protector and a guard of people. Although that's probably why it makes me want to play the villain sometimes, because it's so far to the opposite.
It's why I think in all of his writing, it's like post-apocalyptic,
Right, really dark stuff.
fighting, scary
Evil
stuff.
serial killers.
And then I'm like, hey, Yuri, let's write about some butterflies that have this quest where they magically
do happy things with
marshmallows.
unicorns, right? And, yeah, which is tough for me. But yeah, I love sci-fi. I'm a genre guy. I've owned up to it. I'd much rather watch a really bad B movie, B monster movie or sci-fi movie than whatever is up for the Oscars this year, and I'm okay with that. And I love those things. And when I worked on Terminator: Sarah Connor Chronicles, it was one of the greatest moments because that's why I got into acting, so that I could be running from killer robots on a nuclear submarine and holding a pulse rifle. I mean, that's why I do this. so I'd love to do more stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm quite happy with the way things are going in the voiceover world.
Yeah.
In the meantime,
We're having fun.
Yeah. How about the? I love the way these guys are coming.
These are
together.
awesome.
Yeah, wow.
That's amazing.
It is sort of American Gothic.
Oh, I
it's
love
alien,
it.
Alien Gothic.
Exactly.
yes.
Alien
Oh,
Gothic.
I love it.
Beautiful. Do we want to pull something from?
Is there any
from the
other
chat room
questions?
there?
Chat room?
We do have a good question.
Great.
They wanted to know if you've ever cosplayed as one of the characters you voiced, or if you haven't, who you would like to.
That's a good question.
Why don't you go first? Because my answer takes
Yuri
a moment.
has a story on that one. I have not cosplayed as one of my characters. I think were I to cosplay as one of the characters, Tokiko would be a good character because she's got all those crazy
All those
metal blade
arm
legs
things.
that stick out.
But she still has the schoolgirl.
But she's
outfit,
still
right?
wearing like a Japanese schoolgirl outfit, so that's kind
I'm
of
in
cute.
favor of this.
But I mean, I would have to say Wonder Woman because it's Wonder Woman.
Nice.
Like, that would be
Yeah.
awesome to
Yeah.
get all done up and actually come out as Wonder Woman. That would be pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
And probably not Tamari because there's so many. We've seen so many good Tamaris
yeah,
out there.
yeah.
It would be a tough call.
And that's a huge fan.
Right. Yeah, that is a big fan to be building or buying somewhere. I have cosplayed.
Oh, really, Yuri?
Yes.
Tell us your story.
You'll be able to hear more of this story in our upcoming mockumentary that hopefully will be out this summer called Con Artists.
Yes.
About voice actors at conventions.
It's very silly.
I get it.
You like it?
I knew you would.
Yes.
I knew you would.
It's in post right now, so.
Yeah, so soon.
But
you'll be able
Will
to
is
see
in it.
That's
Our-
true.
our dear
Will
linchpin
makes,
Will.
Yeah, the linchpin Will makes an appearance in it, as do several other people. But I was working on a video game called .hack GU, and the main character Haseo has this really cool outfit, and I think jokingly I said, if I could get away with wearing that costume in real life, day to day, I would totally do that. And we were on a break, and the producer said, "Hey, so I contacted the he said, are you serious? Would you do a cosplay of that?" And I was like, no, I wouldn't do that. Are you kidding me? And not because I don't think it's cool to cosplay. It's just that I've seen so many good cosplayers do. I'd never be good enough. Like the costume that I come up with would never be as good as the fans out there who are already doing it. He's like, okay. And then he made a call apparently to the lead designer on the game. They said, look, we're willing to make the kick-assedest costume.
That was their
Haseo
technical
costume.
term.
Yeah, it was a technical term. Haseo outfit for you if you'll wear it at Anime Expo. And I'm like, oh, wow. Do I put my money where my mouth is? Or do I just do the right thing and just say, no, don't do it? And I'm like, no, I said I would, I said I would totally wear that costume. So I did. So they had a costume made, and I went to Anime Expo dressed as Haseo, and there were like 4 girls and 8 guys dressed as Haseo, and they were all better than me.
Yep. And it has nothing to do with like his physical appearance. It just had to do with like, they crafted painstakingly these costumes over a year or a year and a half, these cosplayers. Like that's what they do. They put their passion and their love into making it for themselves.
Yeah.
And this was just a costume that, the team in China, whoever built this costume, did a lovely job, but it was without heart, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it just goes to show you that fan power is greater than money power. Don't forget that. As you're toiling away on your Sasuke cosplay, for Anime Expo this year, it's going to be better than anything you could buy. So look.
Oh, look
Alien
at that.
Gothic.
Alien Gothic. I love it.
Wow.
So
Give you a
fun.
little bit of clouds here.
Of course.
We'll finish this one up, and then, damn. This is the magic of .con.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
People, you're at home. and the
Someone
phone
likes what you're
rings.
drawing.
Constant
It's just like
interaction.
a real con.
Right.
It's just like a real con.
It's just like a real.
Yeah, people call during the middle of it, and so what I'd like to do next, if we can finish this one, hopefully Josh likes this. I can't see.
Sir
what
Kagan, are
he's-
you still online? Can you write back to us your thoughts?
See.
Yeah, that's right. Is he gonna comment at all on?
Team
think
Kagan's
he's-
listening, so we'll see.
Right.
They better
They're like,
be.
they just called us out.
They better be.
Maybe.
I hope he loves it.
That's
Yeah, to go back to the panel
know,
last night,
yep.
I want to be in Schmucker Punch. Or
Oh,
what rhymes
Schmuck-
with
Schmucker Lunch?
Schmucker
What-
Lunch.
the movie that rhymes
rhymes with
with-
Schmucker
with
Lunch,
Schmucker
but with a
Lunch?
plot.
Yeah.
Fucker lunch.
Yeah. Plucker lunch.
Plucker lunch.
Right.
Plucker, mother plucker.
Right. That would be. You're drunk, aren't you?
I'm drunk on voices.
I'll finish this up a little bit later. What I'd like to do is now do
Yeah.
an individual. If we can do quick,
Sure.
We'll do like kind of a
Yes.
quick individuals here.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Let's save that off. Let's do number 3. And so now who wants to go first? Tara?
I'll go
or
first.
you?
Tara's gonna go first.
Sure.
Awesome. Right on.
So we're
So
gonna
let me clear this one off. Just do a real quick erase. And now back to front. There we
Live.
go.
Back to
All right.
Oh boy.
That's what happens.
There we go.
That's what
Would you
happens when
like
pause.
a voice first, or do you want to draw and then I'll voice it?
Let's do the voice. Let's see. I want to hear what you come up with. Let me hear. Let me hear what let me hear what you come up with, and I'll draw something.
Sure.
To it.
Are there, just real quick, are there any comments in the chat room of voices people would like to hear us do? Because, I mean, we've got bunches of voices that we do. No?
No,
Okay.
they have questions, but
Oh, okay.
Well, it's always fun to do accents and to have very strong female character. I like to fight and I like to get what I want. Things like diamonds, money, gold bars, cars, castles, things of that nature. It's very important to me that I have everything taken care of, so I send my trusty assistant Igor to take care of it. He is very big man. He will make sure you do what I tell you. And if you don't, you will pay the price.
Wow, she's evil. Evil and hot.
What would her name be?
Ooh, I think Natasha is too obvious, so I think her name would be Katerina.
Katerina.
Oh, he's doing it.
Yes,
he's doing it.
Katerina.
Wow.
She means business.
This is perfect. I love that. I love that voice. I think that's great. It gives. I mean, that's what I mean. It gives me such. It just inspires me to do something really, really cool.
Cool.
So let's see what I can come up with here.
Fun.
I actually had it's so funny. I recently reconnected with my cousin, who actually happens to be a voice artist, and I think you might actually know her. I don't know if you do. I mean, you guys probably all know one another, right?
Well,
it is
a
a
small
small
community.
circle.
She does her name's Sumali. She does a voice of like on the Hub Transformers RC, and I think actually you might know her husband. Who is David? I think his name is David Zimmerman. He was on Modern Family and stuff. I don't know if you guys know him or not, but
That sounds familiar. I mean, I know the show and I know where they record it, but I don't know Sumali.
I don't know Sumali, but I'm
I
sure
recent-
now that you've said it, we'll probably
We're
meet
gonna
her
run
this
into
week.
her, yeah, like
Yes.
tomorrow.
I recently ran back into her, and we're working on this small little project together, and she's like, I need you to come up with some concept sketches of this character, and so I said, oh, so what does this character look like? And it was so funny because she actually left me a voicemail in character.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which was like
Great.
it was the biggest help for me to help develop this character.
Totally.
And it was I mean, I could keep referencing it going back,
Yeah.
and it was really, really cool.
It's the same thing for us. I mean, if we just have to do a voice blank, it's a very different experience than if I see a picture. Because then once I see the picture, I see like the size of the lungs and what they look like, and it starts to put me in a mood. And then from that mood, I create the voice. So I'm sure it's very similar that when you hear the voice from that mood of that voice, then you do the image. It's probably the same path
in reverse,
of
yeah.
Creativity.
Yeah, and then the accent with Katerina.
Katerina.
Really,
Len, don't get my name wrong. I will kill you.
It's helped out so much.
But I like what you're doing, Len. I look good. I like my necklace. It's good. I wear jewels.
Wow.
that's Kagan's
Yeah.
response. I figured you could do the accent for it.
Nice.
See, now let's do that real quick. Yeah, this is I love voiceover work. I love it's just it's like radio, theater of the mind, right? You know.
Sure.
Absolutely. And it is a real, I mean, we touched on it before, but it is a real equalizer for actors to as voice actor, because it doesn't matter what you look like. So much of what we do on camera and that world is all about how you look and how you look next to that person and how you look, compared to the person who came before. All of those things. If you're, an inch too short or an inch too tall or not blonde enough or whatever.
Right.
And in voice acting, it's just about the voices you can make. If you can sound like it, you can be it.
But the thing that's also interesting is, for example, when you look at this character, if there wasn't much on the page, I mean, like there's the image of that character on the page, and if I walked in and it just said Katarina, double agent, very powerful, and it said accent, but it didn't say who she was, where she's from, what that accent might be, I might look at that and then go, oh, I could do something really juicy like this too. And suddenly you've got another character that you're creating just based on the image. So there's also the fun of what you may see and what you may know about the character, and then that can inform it in a very different way, but you also get a very interesting character from that too.
Yeah, sometimes people ask, oh, well, do you ever run out of voices? Or are you worried about, doing the same voice twice? And while we're often, just because of what we're known to do well, we're often called upon to do similar type things or similar type characters or similar voices. I'm never worried that it's exactly the same because I get, things like this. I get, character design work, or I get a description, or they're looking for a different character. So when that goes in the hopper and I start coming up with something, it's never the same character as the one before. It may sound similar,
but it's
because
a
I only
mood
have
thing,
so much range, but it's wherever the character's coming from a different place, so the voice comes out different whether you like it or not.
Well, this is a quick sketch of Katarina. It's
That's
not,
great.
She's fabulous.
Katarina likes what you did there. She will
Totally-
not punish you for that.
totally perfect. It's not totally perfect, but it gets the idea across. And at least I guess. And how much do you do? Like, do you get a lot of concept sketches to work from, or usually
it
not?
depends. It really depends what we're working on. If we're doing original prelay animation, a lot of times they will have character sketches in the booth, but sometimes they still are in process and creating those characters. I mean, I've just been in recently to record a show, and there was no character art for that.
Yeah,
so
it's
I
just a description.
Just based on the description, I was like, I think this is the right voice, and then I just did that voice. So, but other times, like if you're doing anime or something that's already been created, you not only get to see the character art, but you can actually watch and listen to the original voice, and so that's also very informative.
Yeah, that
too.
gives you a lot of information. But the nice thing is if they don't have any sketches or anything, or they haven't done a lot in the beginning, and you lay down the voices and then they go to it later, sometimes you'll notice the characters end up looking like the actors.
Which is cool.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it doesn't always happen, but it does happen sometimes.
Yeah.
We'll drop some real quick color, and then we'll do Yuri's here.
Excellent.
Let me see. Let's do this.
Yes, Katarina always wear red.
I love it. Gosh, that's so cool.
So great.
Just a real quick drop of red, of course, because she's going to be working with some comrades.
Of course.
Clearly.
And maybe a little bit of, let's give her a little bit of red. Let's see here.
It's so fun to watch Len
Whoops.
draw Katarina come to life. It's good.
So much fun. Gosh.
Yes, I just had my hair highlighted.
Len, we should do this every weekend.
Should. This is a lot of fun.
Drawing and talking with Len, Tara, and Yuri.
Brian's for it. We're getting thumbs up from the control room.
A new show on the stream.tv. We're down.
Well, it's just, there's something, and speaking as an artist, there's something hypnotic about watching somebody draw. And
Oh my God,
yeah.
it's great. It's really like, sometimes I forget that we're doing this, so I'm just staring at the screen. If people watching Yuri and I on camera look at us and we're just looking down, it's because we're so captivated by the screen that we're looking at where Len's drawing. So that's why we're
happened-
watching down here.
That happened last night on the Nerdywood panel, where I would just forget to sort of chime in or offer an opinion or answer any questions because I was so having so much fun watching and listening to the other people on the panel that it was actually difficult to.
Yeah.
And trying to ignore me constantly texting you
I know.
today.
That was-
Speaking of getting bugged during a panel. Hey, Chris, I was just wondering. I'm seeing on the social stream tab. People are wondering if you're also on the social stream tab because I'm seeing some voice requests come up there.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
you-
see him. I
Okay.
see him now. Yeah, and I have a trifecta of requests for Yuri actually.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Oh, okay. So why don't we have the three, and then Yuri can choose.
Great.
That's a great idea.
That's what I will do. Or unless I don't like any of them, in which case I'll
Yes.
do something else.
And then you have to do the Katarina voice.
Right, and then I'll try to. Right. Okay. What do we got, Chris?
First, they want you to say something absurd in Sasuke's voice.
Are you saying something absurd because you don't want to say what they actually wrote?
No, they
Or
said just
said
something absurd.
Okay.
And then we have, I gotta go back and find where they're actually at in the chat.
The only problem with that is that it's Sasuke.
Luke from Tales of the Abyss, and then someone from Wild Grinders.
And then someone from Wild Grinders. Thank you, Frankie Washburn. That's interesting. Let's see.
But then those are all characters that are already
those
established.
are all characters that are already established. Whether or not Len knows them, that might not make a difference. You know what? I will do all of those. I will do all of those things, and then we'll pick, and then we'll do a new voice. That's not established.
Okay, so you'll do
for
three
Len
little
to draw.
phrases and then do a creative new voice for Len to draw. Okay.
Exactly.
Cool.
So if Sasuke were here today, and saying something absurd, it might, it's hard to plan to say something absurd because then it's not absurd anymore. But if I just started talking like Sasuke, he's so filled with anger and revenge. But then, of course, he realizes that it was all for naught and he was all just confused about things. And, well, I mean, confused about his brother and confused about why his brother did what he did. And, well, none of this is really absurd at all. Wait a minute. My whole life is absurd. Everything I've done is absurd. No!
Okay, Sasuke.
So that's Sasuke chat. And then Luke. Man, Luke was so much fun. It's great to work on a video game where there's so many. There's the arc of the story is so long, and you have so much time and so much dialogue to develop the character, and the character actually has an arc as well. That those are the most fun for actors when your characters change up. When Luke first started out, he was really kind of selfish, and just shut up thing. He just didn't like anybody, and he was just really out for himself. That's sort of where Luke was, and then he runs into Ash, and over the course of the time he becomes someone else, and he grows up, which is what we like to see in our characters. But Wild Grinders is a show that's not quite out yet. So this is going to be kind of exciting that I get to do that. But there's a character on the show called Goggles, and he's the nerdy little guy who's always coming up with inventions and videoing all his skater
cute.
buddies,
And he talks sort of like this. And, he's always coming up with, oh, no, wait, let me film that. Oh, wait, I didn't pick up the camera. I picked up the blaster ray. I'm so sorry, Rob.
So that's sort of Goggles right there for you.
Goggles.
Great. That's awesome.
Now you want to come up with it.
But, because I've been doing a lot of, because I've been straying away from type, going with villains and aliens, why don't we go with sort of a classic hero type? Len, are you ready?
I am
ready.
ready
For a classic hero?
I am ready.
Okay. Hi, I'm the hero guy. I'm actually quite heroic, quite handsome, and well outfitted, as all heroes do. I have a sidekick. His name is Little Hero Guy, and he helps me out along the way. I mostly, I spend most of my time looking in the mirror, but when I'm not looking in the mirror, I'm fighting evil. Whether those are classic villains or dragons or spies, I'm just an all-around heroic kind of guy. Mostly protecting myself, my good looks. Wouldn't want anybody to hit me in the face.
Oh my God, your chin is amazing.
I crack myself up. Oh, yeah. Well, I got to go back to my secret headquarters now, but I'll be back shortly to check in on your progress, Len. Make sure that I look good. Wow, and then I look down, and there he is.
That's amazing. There he is.
That's the guy.
Boy.
Little hero man, huh?
Little. That's kind of disturbing.
Right, that
is a little bit disturbing. I don't know
because we actually have a character called Hero Man. I wasn't thinking of that on our show,
okay.
on our web
it's
show.
Okay.
Little hero man.
Little hero man.
Little hero man
is his sidekick.
Yeah, Look, not all sidekicks have to, be indicative of special relationships between the hero and a sidekick. Wow.
Amazing.
I love and hate this guy already so much. If he came to save me, like part of me would be happy and part of me would be like, could you get me a different hero, please?
Could I have a baby one now to clean myself?
Oh,
So
wow.
here's an interesting question, and maybe I don't know. You can be vague as you want here, but what was
Little hero man in his hand.
Super little hero man.
what is the worst? What's the worst voiceover story that's ever happened to you? Like, you know, and I guess you can be kind of vague. Don't have to give.
I got fired. That sucked.
No.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? If in this business, you got to be tough, and you're going to get fired.
I think everybody gets fired at some point.
But it doesn't.
It
doesn't
still
feel
sucks
nice.
though. Because there's that part of you that's like, why did I get fired? I could have done it better. If they gave me different direction, I would have changed it up. I would have played with my voice. I would have slowed it down or sped it up or pitched it or whatever. But at the end of the day, it just boils down to the fact that certain voices work for certain projects and certain characters, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And so like getting replaced really sucks.
If it makes you feel any better, I've been fired from every regular job ever. So I that's why I always have to just do my own thing.
Exactly.
I always get fired.
Yep.
Yeah, but Brian, you know, that's a good thing, because if you hadn't gotten fired from those jobs, would we be here at the stream.tv
And you're
today?
awesome.
Why thank you.
right.
Yes, I mean it was a means to an end. The firing was all the strategy behind it, really.
Right, it was all a plan. And I think the worst thing, wow. I mean, so many great things happen, but you know, bad things do happen too. I was working on a video game once, and it was early in my video game career, and it was a snowboarding game. It was an SSX game. I think it was SSX 3, and
It's very vague.
well, right? Yeah, sorry. So, oops. It wasn't their fault. It was totally my fault. If it had been the other person's fault, I wouldn't have named names.
Right.
Maybe I might have named names. But first off, I had I show up to the my agent says, "Hey, do you speak Swedish?" And I say, "No." He said, "We thought you spoke Swedish." "No, I speak some other language. I speak German and I speak Japanese, but neither of those are Swedish."
But they'll sound like
But those
Swedish,
sound
right?
right. And they're like, "Okay, we just wanted to make sure because they wanted you to speak Swedish for this thing, but we just checked with them and they said if you just have an accent, you'll be fine." And I said, "Okay." So I show up for the job, and they're like, "Okay, we've got all these lines, and then we've got all of these lines in Swedish." And I went, I don't speak Swedish." They said, "You don't speak Swedish? We were told you spoke Swedish." And I was like, "Oh God, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna waste your time. I don't speak Swedish. I can't fake speaking Swedish. I can come up with a terrible, Swedish chef accent from the Muppets, but it's gonna be horribly offensive and." You should probably just send me home and find somebody who speaks Swedish. And they said, "You know what? Don't worry about it. Just do your best Swedish accent, and we'll and we'll be fine." I was like, "Okay." Well, I told you.
You want to give us some of your best Swedish accents?
It sounds like the Swedish chef. It's like orgy. It's terrible. But I tried to, and in my head I'm thinking, "Wow, I'm not even really sure that I know what a Swedish accent is." But I'll try. And it came off as vaguely sort of European, possibly with a hint of German, and but we went through, and as I was going through, it was a lot of call outs. It was a lot of, "Yeah, all right." It's a snowboarding game, so it's all yelling and yelling over the snow and the sound of the board and all that, and
So it's
calling
already
out.
aggressive on your
So
voice.
it's really aggressive on my voice, and it was early on in my career, and I had yet to sort of find a way to protect my voice.
Plus, you didn't know how to do the accent.
Plus, I was nervous about doing the accent. And as we go through the course of the thing, my voice just gets worse and like scratchier, and it starts to go away, and I see we still have plenty of script pages left, and I start to sweat, like visibly sweat. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm not going to make it through this." And then finally, they buzzed over, and it's bad when they go. Because you can't usually hear what they're saying, chattering back and forth. You can only hear them when they push the button, so you can hear them over the monitor.
It's Little Hero Man.
Oh my God, I actually have Little Hero Man in my hand. Wow. So we're working, and there's a pause, and they come over the intercom, over the monitor, and they say, "Hey, you want some tea with some honey in it?" And that's the word, because that means that they hear that it's not sounding good anymore. So I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll have some tea," and then after, they brought me some tea, and then still slowly went downhill, and they kept it. You want a lozenge? You want to take a break? Do you want to? And I just started sweating more, and it was because when you hear those things, you can't. It just makes you more and more nervous, and your throat clenches up. And just by the time I got out of there that day, I was humiliated and just covered in sweat. And I came back and a couple days later, and we did the session, the second session. But I think it sounded different from the first session. And to this day, I don't know if I got replaced, actually.
I think they might have replaced him.
I think they replaced me on that job. Because, but they didn't tell me. So I told all my friends to buy SSX3. And I'm like, yeah, I'm Vigo and SSX3. And they're like, yeah, awesome. And then I got SSX3 and I played it. And I'm like, wow, that doesn't sound like me at all. So what do we have on the while
is there
you're
chat room
while
stuff?
you're going? And I do have to say, I want to put this in here before the end of this thing, that whatever it is that we're doing today, I don't even know what to call it yet.
Fun?
But Tara and I have to each give our best voice for the robot mascot of .con, which you fell in love with.
I love
as soon
him.
as you can
He's the
see him on the
when we're done.
Yeah.
Who I want to say first that Len is the one responsible for that mascot.
there
Because
you
he's
go.
the cutest.
Because he's adorable and
I
awesome.
want one.
See?
Oh, I was gonna tell a little story about that guy.
Why don't you tell a little story about
Go
that guy?
ahead.
Yeah, the little robot guy.
Robot,
was-
because he's a robot, right?
He's a
Because he's not
robot.
a robot, he's a robot.
He's a robot.
His little robot, right?
Yeah.
So when Chris and I started originally talking about that that mascot, or just the logo, I guess, because it wasn't actually a mascot. It was
Right.
more of
Right.
It was just I thought, oh, it'd be great to have some sort of a mascot, but at that point I hadn't really thought about it. I was kind of playing around with some ideas, this was even at the point where .confest wasn't even named yet. We had
Right.
kind of kicked around some ideas, and so we
Right.
had So he finally said, we're going to go with .con. I said, great. So we had the D and the C, which is great. Took that little D and C, and I thought, because it's an online convention, why don't we make it so that it's like a happy face or something, like internet happy faces or whatever. So I had the D with the big smile, like put the little eyes, and then the C other way with that little smile. So it made this symmetrical kind of the symmetrical thing with these two dots on the other end. I changed the font to this kind of internet-y type font, and then I'm like, oh, cool. Let me see what happens when going back to throwback to an earlier thing we talked about, turning something on its side.
Yeah.
I literally did that.
It's the
and
cutest.
It turned into little
the
robot.
best.
So that actually is, if you turn it on its side, it's actually
DC.
a
Yeah, it's the
DC
D
and a
and
happy face type thing. So
I love it.
It's a really neat little story. I love hearing.
I love it.
Being from advertising, I love hearing stories like that about how things like that got created.
Yeah.
But that would be what would he
Right. What would he sound like? Or she sound like?
Or
for
she.
that matter, right? Although you can, I'm not pushing you into a corner. Never, don't put baby in a corner.
I
you
am Robot. I sound like this. You do not know if I am boy or girl.
Wow, how do I best that? Wow.
My name is .con.
But
Bot.
I may have to
I
just
want
forfeit.
a
but I'll-
shirt with my face on it. .con. Bot.
Wow. You know what? I'm gonna have to come back to that one because I can't. I can't function right now. Why don't we? Yeah. Well, no. I'll come back with a different
voice. I
voice.
think I just made you John Leguizamo.
Wow. It's true.
Oh, you're
That's
amazing.
kind of,
That's amazing.
I just made you John Leguizamo.
That's amazing.
if John Leguizamo had
Was a
a big chin
superhero.
and he was a superhero, that would be the drawing you just did.
Hero man in his hand.
See, so
How would you change the voice for that? Yeah.
They actually wanted Tara to try voicing Little Hero Man.
Oh,
So
Okay, you
I'll
do-
voice
okay.
I'll voice the hero guy, and you can voice
Yeah.
little hero
Okay.
man. So, little hero man, we've got some villains to fight today. I was thinking we could jump into the hero car and go and take care of things. What do you think?
Aye, aye, Captain. I'm ready for action.
Yes, you are. Right in the palm of my hand. I'm just gonna put you in the glove box here.
Sounds good.
I'll let you out when we get to the villains.
All right, let me at him.
I want to see this show.
See, this is how things happen, Len. We do things like this, and then all of a sudden they become shows. What do we have up on the board there, Chris? That,
on the question wise,
Yes.
there was a question a while ago I meant to ask and cleverly plug your web series Shelf Life.
Our
Chris.
web series.
They wanted to know how you guys designed your characters and if you came up with the actual design of
Sure.
them. And
To plug shamelessly, our web series Shelf Life, which you can watch on the YouTubes right now or on shelflifeseries.com. It's a web series about 4 action figures on a young boy's shelf, and it's us in costume, live action, playing these action figures. And we have 4 main characters. Hero Man, which is ironic.
but played by Travis Willingham,
Yes.
the
who's
lovely and
also
talented Travis
a very
Willingham.
talented actor. Me, I play Hero Lass. Yuri plays Bug Boy. And then the other character is Samurai Snake, played by Brian Ank / D. Bradley Baker. Because D. Bradley Baker voices the character because he's kind of like a Chewbacca character. But that's a snake.
Yeah.
That's a samurai. But the way that we came up with those character designs is we went to Eric White, who is a very talented comic artist.
WIGHT, the awesome way, the
And
barrel
had we known
spelling.
Len, we might have talked to Len. Who knows? But
Now we know.
We went to our
Now
friend
we know.
Eric, who is a very talented comic artist and writer, and we said, "Hey, we're doing this show. We want very sort of iconic characters, almost stereotype characters. These are some images.
look, it's but there they
those
are.
are our characters.
Oh, Gramo, you're good.
Thank you. These are what characters that are similar to what we think our characters would look like. Will you give us some character designs?" And so he did some amazing sketches and sent them back to us. And then
I had seen, but besides knowing Eric, I had seen some character designs that he had done for superheroes for a film called The League that was directed by Kyle Higgins, who's now writing Nightwing. You may already know him, or at least of his work. He's awesome. So I had seen that Eric had done this, and so that was one of the reasons that we went to him in the first place. And
Yeah.
he came back with these designs based on original character concepts that Tara had come up with, and we thought we would have to go back and forth a few times. Tweak this, tweak that. But the stuff he
literally
sent us
the
was
first images
solid
he
gold.
sent us was amazing, and we're like, "That's
And we
it,
went with
that's
those.
perfect." And so we took those to our costume designer, Lino Stavoli of the Creature Company, and he built the costumes, the snake head, all that stuff, and we were good to go from there.
Because he's a genius.
Yeah.
So
thank
that
you
was
for
how
that
we came up-
question, though. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're very proud of the show. It's in second season right now, and we're coming up on the 5th episode or 6th episode of season 2. They come out on Tuesdays, so you can go check and watch all of them because they're on the YouTube channel. But on Tuesday will be a new episode.
That's right.
Nice.
We're back, and I'm going to because you did the cute version
Oh,
that I
your
would
dot?
never be able to.
Right.
I'd like to make it more like a different.
Mm-hmm.
I am not gone. I am the not gone Roman. I will destroy all of you.
He's so scary.
See, now he's not so cute anymore, is he?
No.
How long could you keep that up?
Right, yeah, I know. See, that's the thing. Never come up with a voice that you can't maintain for at least 4 hours without wrecking your voice.
I know.
And I don't think that I can keep this up for a long time. But I came up with that. That was the first, you know what? Good trivia. That may be the first voice that I ever came up with. Because when Battlestar Galactica first came out, not this new Battlestar Galactica, the old Lorne Green Battlestar Galactica, I fell in love with it because it was right after Star Wars. They were sort of trying to, I think, capitalize on that. And Star Wars was done, and I was so hungry for something else, and Battlestar Galactica, so I just fell in love with it. And so I wanted to replicate the Cylon voices. And that was when I may have been like 7 when I came up with that voice. It was before I ever thought that I would ever do anything like this. And I'd run around like a Cylon, like, my young man. Anyway, that's
Amazing.
that's what I give to this. That's what I give to your little robot. I make him a destroyer. Because I can see behind the smile that he is truly a destroyer. Destroyer of worlds. Destroyer of
You
our
see his
world.
smile? That's pretty
Whoa!
Nice.
He will destroy us.
good.
Amazing.
Look at these heroes.
Yes. They're ready to go off on
Hero and sidekick.
some fun, heroic journeys.
I love it. And I wish I had a purple jacket like that. And I love the little buttons down in the corner. It's sort of it's like a futuristic kind of sci-fi blazer if I ever had one. Oh, so awesome.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
Chris, do we have any other
Yeah.
questions? Or
Because we're
we
going to be
do.
wrapping this up in about 10 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, I kind of don't want to get Len started on another drawing, unless there was something you had burning inside that you needed to.
oh no, I can actually go
could
back.
probably go all day.
Work on these. Yeah, these are fun.
Polish them up.
You
a
want
bit,
you want to tweak some of the stuff that we've got. See if there's
Yeah.
anything you
Yeah,
want to while
absolutely.
we
Yeah.
take
And we
some
can
questions.
take some questions. while
We
you're-
can. One we had a while ago. I had to get them to clarify it. They wanted to know is it hard to voice all of the different things you have in a video game? Like a video game character has to experience so many different things.
That's
and
a
like,
great question.
Shouts and all these things. And is it hard to do that for like come up with a voice that you can do all these different things with?
Yeah, that goes back to what Yuri was talking about earlier when he said, don't pick a voice that you can't sustain for 4 hours.
Screaming.
Screaming. When you're doing a video game specifically, there usually is going to be a large loop count, which is like a high number of lines that you have to perform that are going to be particularly aggressive, straining on your voice, grunts and fighting sounds and attacks and damages and all of those things that in game, it's part of how the game gets played.
When you look at games, there's a lot of that. It's
Yeah.
all about fighting and dying and getting set on fire.
And so it can be really tricky because you may be able to come up with a really cool voice and you may be able to even sustain that voice for an extended period of time. But when you start having to yell, scream, die, give damage, take damage, all of those things, it's really tricky to do. So yeah, it's definitely something that you have to think about, when you are getting cast or when you're auditioning, what kind of game is it? Because some games are really, like things like
Talky.
Yeah, some games are really talky or they're very light because it's very story driven. It's, hey, we're princesses and we're going on a journey today. And they're not going to, there's not going to be any like death and pale whale screams.
I usually don't get cast in those.
Yeah. Well, you could get cast as like the hero, like coming to save them. But yeah, so it depends what you are working on and the nature of the game. But yeah, I think that's always a trick.
Yeah, video game sessions are generally the most brutal of voiceover sessions because they have to cram a bunch of different lines into a 4-hour session, and yeah, it is a lot of exertions and fighting and screaming and dying, and so many of the games are like Call of Duty basically, and there's a lot of that stuff, and you do have to learn to maintain that, and they have to keep up a pretty good pace. You don't just do one line. And then, you've got 30 seconds, and then you do another one. I mean, they've got these huge, long Excel spreadsheets.
Yes, Sean Connery. We
Sean
always
Connery.
use our spreadsheets
My
when we're
spreadsheet.
working. Because the pen is might.
The penis mitre.
Oy.
They don't have a lot of time for you to just sort of take your time and do it. So we're really plowing through them, and you have to learn to be able to support your voice so that you can do that.
And you're not always just doing one take. So you may have, several hundred of these in-game effort sounds, these fighting battle cries.
Or 1,000.
Or 1,000. But it's not just that you have to do each of them once. Sometimes you're lucky, and given the director and the scenario, you've worked together, you have a very shorthand or whatever. But sometimes literally it'll say like battle cry, and you'll do a battle cry, and they'll say, okay, now try it shorter, and then you try it shorter, and then they'll say, okay, now pitch it up a little, and then you try pitch it up. So you're doing multiple takes of that very same effort over and over again, and so it's about sustaining your voice, and that's one of the reasons that we actually recommend doing a vocal warm-up. We wrote a book on voiceover, and we, as a companion to that book, we have a warm-up CD, and that warm-up CD is one of the things that we recommend because it gives you that full warm-up for your voice. I've had several stressful, strenuous sessions this last week for a video game that I was working on, and what I did was in the car, before I was driving to that session, I would literally in the car do the vocal warm-ups that are on the CD. Like I was like, I'm just gonna, so that I would show up and I wouldn't be strained and my voice would be taken care of.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily as easy as it may look. Gary Oldman actually recently was on Letterman or something like that, and he asked him about being in the Call of Duty video game, and Gary Oldman talked about how hard it was. So cheers, Gary. Thanks for letting everybody know that
Shout out.
that it ain't just butterflies and unicorns.
Although I like those games too.
Yeah. So what else we got there?
Well, one was kind of related to that, and I'm going to take it a step further. They asked what the most difficult video game or project you worked on. I think they meant technically, but I'm going to take it to the, personality-wise, like character, which was the hardest for you to kind of get into the mindset of.
Was yours Bioshock?
Yeah, I think, and it's funny because this was one of the hardest, but also one of the most rewarding sessions I had was on Bioshock 2. I played a spider splicer on Bioshock 2, and having been such a huge fan of the first game, I was super excited about working on it. But if you know anything about those characters in that game, they're insane. And they run around and they scream and they get set on fire and all those things that you hope don't happen to your character in a game that you'll have to voice. And but they said, well, we're gonna do 2 sessions. We're gonna do 2 2-hour sessions because they were being really kind to the actors. They said, it's so aggressive that we don't want to burn you out. We just couldn't work you for 4 hours straight. But the problem was I was going out of town on the second day that they would have scheduled me. And they said, well, if I can't, do both days, then they'll just, they'll hire somebody else. So I said, I'll do them all on the first day. And they said, well, we don't know if that's a good idea, but my agent convinced them that I could do it. And I went in, and it was quite possibly the most brutal session I've ever been in. It was all screaming and craziness and, insanity for pretty well, 4 hours. And I found out from the director afterwards, he was a little worried that I wasn't going to be able to get through it. He didn't think that I could do it. Not because he doubted my abilities, but because he doubted anybody's voice could hold up to that. And I think what got me through it was I was so excited about it, and I was so in love with the character and the insanity that I was really, relaxed and into it. And so I think I learned a lesson that day, which is the more I can be excited about it and into it, the less, tension I have in my throat, and the more it just comes out, and I can just keep going.
Well, that goes back to the other video game that you were talking about. I think you were really nervous about the fact that they expect you to deliver this accent that you were not capable of doing, and that they had been misled. So you were really nervous, and when you're nervous, whether you're nervous about working on the job that you're working on or for a specific reason, because you know that you're not capable of something, I think that nerve, those nerves tighten you, and when you're tight, whether it's in your neck or in your diaphragm or wherever in your body, I think that adds to strain on your voice. For me, I'm trying to think what the most difficult video game would have been. I think for me it might have been Brutal Legend. I oftentimes play dominatrixes and harlots and prostitutes and whatever sort of
Ghosts of Sparta,
underworld,
right?
yes, underworldly sort of women, because in the voiceover world, there's a lot of girls that do the really high-pitched kind of fun voices or silly little cute voices, but there's not necessarily a lot of girls that do the really dark, deep, rich, powerful, strong warriors. And so I get cast as that a lot, which means I'm in the fighting games, because those other voices aren't in the fighting games. So I do a lot of the fighting games, and because I'm trying to vary up my voice so that it doesn't always sound the same, even though, we all have a range, but within that range, people can identify, they can go, oh, that was Tara in that game, that was Tara in that game. Like, it's we have a voice signature. People, just like a fingerprint, you have a vocal signature, vocal print. And so you can only change up your voice so much. You can pitch it, you can, speed it up, you can slow it down, you can accent it, but it's always going to be sort of in a little bit of a wheelhouse, unless you're one of those crazy people that can talk through your
D. Bradley Baker.
Yeah, talk through
Fred
your
Dadashore.
Exactly. Talk through your sinuses or
Nolan
whatever.
North.
Right. But that said, you want to try to vary it up, but if you're in a very certain pitch range vocally, it can be very stressful. And I think working on Brutal Legend for me, even though I loved working on it and it was a fun game and I loved the director, it was because it was a very deep voice and every line was in-game brutal. Like, you get to the end of that and you're just like, you're wiped out.
Yeah. So maybe.
Oh, look at the.
I know. Maybe a final
So
question, and
exciting.
then touching base with Len again near the end. I know we don't necessarily have to be out right at 3:30.
Yeah. That was just, my estimate.
Right.
The one I liked, let's see, as a final question.
Haha.
Oh, so many. That's the problem. I would say just kind of, we had one yesterday that was, about what got you into being a nerd. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take it a step further and what was the thing that got you interested in voice acting for you, and for Len, what got him interested in art?
Well, we've been talking a lot. Why don't we let Len?
Yeah, let's let Len talk.
Start on this one.
What got me into art?
Yeah.
I think I was just by default. I've been drawing forever. And, I used to, when there was no paper in the house growing up, I ruined all the yellow pages, all the telephone books, because I would draw on that. So I've been drawing forever. And, it's just one of these things that it was something that somehow along the way I found that I could do. And I wanted to take advantage of that. And it wasn't up until I was drawing, and I was doing a lot of different things, just to kind of keep myself sharp. But it wasn't up until I want to say around 2005, 2006, where I actually started to take my art and put it online, and people started seeing it. And it got such a positive reaction. It really kind of propelled me forward and made me want to do more stuff. And it wasn't until I started working with Colt, and I drew his thing a week. Like he would record a song, and then somewhere along the way I started drawing each one, like a visual response to each one. And he started, people started paying attention and recognizing my stuff. And so that was the inspiration comes from just having people like my stuff, and it's always, if I'm always just amazed that actually I have people that like the stuff, because, as an artist, and you probably go through this too, as a voice artist, you're always struggling, hoping you're doing good work, second guessing yourself, hoping that, it works. And I'm just really proud to be able to do this and say that I'm actually at a point now where I'm kind of doing this for a living, which is great.
That's great. So. Congratulations.
That's the goal.
Yeah, and I would agree with what you said in the sense that there is something so validating when people respond to what it is you're creating, and not only recognize it as your signature, but also respond to that and appreciate it and let you know that you've affected them. Because that's kind of why artists, regardless of what their medium is, that's why you do what you do. You're creating something from something that was nothing before that, with the hopes that someone out there in the wide world is going to respond to that creation. And so I think there's something infinitely rewarding about that creative response reaction.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but I also respond to your you made me think that, as great as much as I love my job and sort of how magical it is and how lucky I feel, and now even though, despite the fact that I've been doing it professionally for 8 when voice acting is concerned, at least 8 to 10 years, I still feel like when I wake up in the morning that this is the day that they're going to find out that I don't know what I'm doing. Even after all this validation and everything, and people say they like my stuff, hate my stuff, whatever it is, being able to do it professionally for as long as I still have that sense that I'm going to get found out, Yep.
Yeah.
I
think all creative people go through that.
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever go away, because it is a very fickle, it's based on other people's, and I think it's because it's based on other people's response.
Yeah. But I there's a quote that I love, and it says, if everybody, I'm going to slaughter the quote, but it basically says, if everybody likes what you're doing it wrong. So the idea is, you want to always be pushing yourself to do something. And you know what? Some people are going to respond positively, and some people are going to respond negatively, and that's exactly what you want. Because when you affect people, you affect them on both sides of the pendulum, the seesaw, whatever it is. But you're attempting to create something that people are going to respond to, and a response is going to be either positive or negative. If they're only they could care less, you really haven't done anything. And so I like that idea that if everybody likes you, or if everybody likes what you're doing it wrong. I like that.
William Castle said, if I don't have at least one person walk out of a movie that I've produced, then I consider it a failure.
So we are very successful, because I think several people walked out of our movie. Look at her.
I know.
She's so evil. I love it.
But as far as so we can wrap this up, as far as what sort of inspired, or not, we went over inspiration, but what got us on the on the road to what we do. Tara talked about how we were looking for other ways to earn a living while acting, and this came up. But I do have to say, when I was much younger, I would do radio shows for myself, and record them on a little audio cassette player recorder, and where I would play all the different characters. It was a superhero. It was a stupid superhero.
Wow.
called The Sting, and I don't even remember what he did or what his powers were. He probably
He
stung
people,
people, right?
He was
Clearly,
the Sting.
clearly.
Or would he go out on like sting operations?
And I, at that age, I didn't even know what that was. But I would do all the voices for those, and it's funny that I sort of lost track of that and forgot about that going into acting, on stage and on camera and all this, that I'd sort of forgotten that existed, and I'm glad that we were able to find it again.
Yeah, I don't think in my history I had any experience with voices, because I don't think I even really realized until, about 8 to 10 years ago that voices were a job somehow. Like, it just sort of slipped my mind. I mean, I would go watch animated movies, but I didn't have this idea of like, those are people doing a job. It just wasn't something that was part of my world. I mean, I would go see a lot of movies, which is probably one of the reasons that movies are sort of in my heart, because that's what I responded to so much as a kid, to that creative sort of going on that journey and watching the experience. Like, that's probably one of the reasons that my passion is features. But I don't remember as a kid doing funny voices. I'm sure my parents have stories of me doing stuff like that, but I don't remember that being part of my experience.
But we also talk about how one of the things we have learned in doing this is that voice acting is not just about doing funny voices. A lot of people say, hey, I do all these great voices, and can I become a voice actor? I'm like, I don't know. Look at the actor part of that, because we found that the people in this business who we work with, who've been doing it for a long time consistently, they're really good actors too. It's not just about coming up with a crazy voice.
Because they make it believable.
So
Whatever the voices that they come up with, you believe that character in that circumstance, and that's why you respond to it, because of their humanity. So I don't mean to cut you off, but I was like,
no.
Yeah.
I was just jumping on the top of your thing.
Well, guys, thank you guys at home on your computers for
Or at work, if
or at work.
if you're totally at our con at work, that's exactly what we were going for.
Thank you
Plus,
for
you
joining
you
us.
must have an awesome job that
That lets
they're
you
not
get
paying
on work.
attention to you for the last hour and a half.
And thanks for joining Len. And Len, thanks for joining
thanks
us.
for joining us.
Letting us join you.
Do you want to show yourself
This was a
again,
a lot of fun. Yeah, let me get over here.
I saw that in the chat. We have the ability for him to switch back to the Len cam.
Yeah, let me do that. I am trying to.
And while he's doing that, remember that if you name the two characters that we started with,
Or the four, because
That-
it was 2 and 2.
well, those had names because Josh Kagan named them.
Oh, right.
So if you
Right.
name those two characters from the very beginning, that evil character and the poor
And the
damsel in distress, then you can win Think Geek
Gift certificates.
gift certificates.
So thank you to Chris, who's on screen now, for conceiving
me.
of this online convention.
And
I'm
to
sure
Think
I'm sure millions of people will steal this idea since he came up with it. And,
Probably.
and
We
it will
got
become
Len on
the
cam here.
but
We
just
got Len
but just
there.
but just
Yay,
but just
Len,
yay,
thank
Len.
All right,
but-
it was a lot of fun.
Yay, so much
yeah,
fun.
It was. And easier somehow than I thought it would be. But that's thanks to Brian
Thanks
Gramo
to
as
Brian
well.
Gramo
Thank you to
and
Brian
Stream.tv.
Gramo at the
Brian.
Stream.tv.
And then coming up, we should probably plug what's coming
plug,
up.
yeah.
Coming
Yes.
up at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. The Double Clicks, Mike Furman, and DJ Real. We're doing a live show for your entertainment. Oh, and then the movie. We got to talk about the movie.
And then there's
Chris.
a movie. What time is the movie on?
8 p.m.
8
8
p.m.
p.m.
Pacific. So 11.
Eastern.
But I think the movie is the kind of movie you'll want to watch late at night for those of you on the eastern
Desperado?
seaboard.
Desperado.
Desperado.
Yes.
Yeah.
There will be bingo too.
Desperado bingo.
Oh, yes. Bingo.
All
Tune
right.
in. Tune in, and you either missed or you saw the lovely
Ice cream.
Virginia Corbett making nerdy ice cream this morning.
Yummy.
But you can watch everything that we've done so far on.
What?
I've been as the events have been happening. I've been changing the links over to the recorded broadcasts of them. So already for the Nerdywood panel, for the Think Geek panel, and for Virginia's, the links are already up there. So you can watch it if you missed anything into perpetuity.
Right.
Nice. Well, thanks everybody.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
It was a lot of fun.
See you around.
Yay, so much fun. Have a wonderful
Bye,
rest of your
Len.
weekend.
Bye, Chris. Bye, Brian.
Bye.
Bye, Internet.
Bye,
See ya.
interwebs.
I don't know if this guy wants us to say goodbye.
I think he does. Go.
Bye, everyone. I will miss you.
Or I will destroy you.
So fun. That was a blast.
Oh man,
Yay, thank
Len,
you.
So that worked out so much even better than I thought it was
I
going
believe
to.
Oh,
I have
so
a-
much fun.
a thank you for watching. And
Yeah.
there we go. There we go for there.
That's
oh,
Aw.
look at
Wow,
you.
that was great.